This is Fam Electric Ghost, and we're live on the air with Gordon Firemark, and you're the podcast lawyer, Trademark. And I want to thank you for being here on the podcast. We want to welcome you to the Fam Electric Ghost podcast, but we also, before we get to the heart of your story, I always ask a guest a couple questions. What motivates you, and why do you do what you do?
What motivates me? Money. No. My mission, my purpose in life, really, I view it as helping creative folks get their message out as fully and safely as possible. And the way I've chosen to do that is by providing lots of information and education and services, helping with the legal side of things. That is sort of my sweet spot. I'm a creator at heart, but what I lack in talent on that side, I make up for in talent on the legal side. So that's sort of my purpose. And I'm just all about protecting free speech and making sure that folks are safe and secure and can achieve the kind of impact and influence and income that they desire doing the thing that they love.
Well, you've been in the podcast world doing the Entertainment Law Update podcast since 2009.
Yeah.
I've been doing podcasts since 2016, but that's pretty good.
Yeah.
And like you're an author of podcast, blog, and new media producer's legal survival guide. And you have an undergraduate degree in radio, television, and film. You experience like in live theater.
Yeah.
And you're involved in everything legal regarding this space. And what's interesting to me is like a lot of people don't know about, I'm a musician. So I have a lot of music and I go through, getting registered with BMI and all those type of things. A lot of folks sometimes don't know what they need to do when they get into like the streaming space, or whether if they're an artist, what they should do with their copyright, with their masters, with like their intellectual property.
Absolutely.
So like, what do you find are the most important things that, every podcaster should know? Because that's kind of your focus.
Yeah, podcasters, the creator economy as a whole is sort of where I point my nose most of the time. I would say the question was the most important thing they should know, or
what's the most important thing they should know when they're in this space legally, maybe to protect themselves?
I guess the thing that most of them don't do that they should is think about what they're doing as a business, in the context of a business, rather than just, I'm just here creating, I'm just making art, I'm having a good time. That's wonderful, but that's a recipe for getting ripped off or what's the word I'm looking for? Or taken advantage of. And so always remember that you are operating in a business world, even if you aren't excited about the business, the numbers, that kind of thing. Obviously, we all need to make money to make our living. And most of us would rather do it doing something we enjoy rather than slogging away in a cubicle somewhere, or worse yet, digging ditches or waiting tables, right? So I think, thinking about it as a business and understanding the business that you're in, whether it's the music industry or the podcasting or YouTube or whatever, and sort of getting a handle on the nuance and the way the gears work and turn to make the machine run. So it's worth studying up a little bit. It's not hard.
Yeah, I think a lot of creators, especially if you talk to musicians, they don't want anything to do with the paperwork. They usually get burned because of that. But there's a lot of stories about that. But the one thing I'm interested in the legal framework of copyrights and patents and trademarks in the world of AI.
Yeah.
Because in the world of AI, when you sign up for Google and you sign up for these platforms, they have all these disclaimers saying they're going to train on your stuff, right? Even musicians, like our catalogs are getting trained on. We have to try to opt out. It's very hard to opt out.
Right.
And there are lots of sites where we store our stuff, and then they're actually training on our stuff, even though we didn't know that that's what they're doing. And so, like, what does the actual patent or trademark or anything protect in this age?
That's a great question. It's a hard question to answer. I mean, patent is, really about inventions and devices and systems and mechanisms, that are unique and non-obvious. And, if you're inventing stuff, I think you need to talk to a specialist patent attorney to make sure that find out what's patentable about what you've created, and then how to protect it as fully as possible. I think that one's doing a little better, although maybe in the software world, software patents are getting more challenging as the AIs are learning and iterating these things. In the copyright and trademark world, well, trademark is about brands, protecting those symbols, those phrases that we use to identify ourselves or our companies as the source of the stuff we're putting out there. Um, and I think that's an important thing to, if an AI is misrepresenting that it is putting something out that's coming from me, I'm going to have something to say about that. Vice versa, if it's putting stuff out and it if I'm doing stuff that appears to come from AI, there can be some challenges there. So we have to watch out for that. I think the trademark law is doing a pretty good job for the moment in that arena. In copyright law is where it's really, really challenging, because although we've had, like you said, we've got lawsuits going about the training on books, the training on films, the training on music, from the catalog of stuff that's out there since the beginning of time. Really, anything that's on the internet has been kind of fodder for that training. So unfortunately, a lot of what we're trying to do now is like closing the barn after the horses have already run away.
Yeah. Which kind of like clearing the samples. Like, but when the technology for MPCs or samplers came out, rappers didn't have to clear those because nobody thought about that. But then suddenly they started to enforce their
well, that's right.
The copyrights, and people started getting strikes.
Yeah, if I own a piece of recording in the samples days, and somebody took a clip from the recording I own, yeah, they're supposed to pay me. And there were a lot of fights about, well, did they take enough that it justifies a fight or not? And there were fights about, do they really have to pay? Those kinds of questions.
Yeah.
And over time, it has resolved, and there's become a system and a mechanism and a marketplace for samples. Same, I think, will eventually be true in the AI world. The fact of it is, new technology always disrupts the environment in which existing technology has lived. Yeah. So, and I think that's mostly a good thing. Innovation is what keeps driving society in the directions, hopefully the directions we want to go. This is maybe one I have some doubts about, but yeah, I mean, I think so. We are trying to close that door and maybe rein those horses back in and get them back in the barn. I don't know how successful we'll be with that. Some of the lawsuits
there's so much content. I think it's like when you have a song or you have a hook, it's a 3-minute, 5-minute song.
Yeah.
When people have like a whole manuscript, like 200,000, 300,000 words. Yeah. When they have film, they have other things, like you said, software. I'm in the software game, and we have like a big issue with. We want to take advantage of these capabilities. But I'm with a startup, in that company, we have our secret sauce. Yeah. And if we actually reveal too much of our secret sauce, then the AI learns our secret our copyrights.
Yeah, and that is a fourth kind of intellectual property of sorts. Technically, it's not really intellectual property, but trade secrets. The information that we have that is valuable to us because it's secret, because nobody else knows how to do this thing or who to go for this information, those kinds of things. So keeping it secret is really important. And that's where non-disclosure agreements and confidentiality clauses and those kinds of things really come into play. And yeah, unfortunately, nowadays we're in a digital age where we're storing stuff on our computers, and it may be secret as far as we know, but all it takes is some rogue AI agent on someone down the hall computer to access the network and maybe find that stuff and start using and looking at it. And it may be years before we even know it's happened. We may just be wondering, hey, why'd the bottom fall out of our business or something like that?
You're reading the source code. It's like it's reading the guts.
Yeah, exactly.
And even when you give, you give Copilot the right, it reads the guts.
Yeah.
And if somebody sneaks in and gets it, then they, if the AI itself, which it has a tendency that you give it a rule, and if you keep on prompting it, it breaks the rule.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes it just flat out lies to you too.
Yeah. But it doesn't seem to have like the constraints, like lawyers. You deal with laws, you deal with rules, you deal with all kinds of structures.
Yeah.
The problem with this tech is it's totally disruptive.
Yeah.
It doesn't care about those rules.
Well, right. And honestly, that's not all on the AI and the AI companies to worry about. I mean, in the legal community, we are struggling with what are the boundaries where it's sort of safe to use AI tools and where are not. I mean, you think about it. If I upload information about my client, my case to an AI, I'm just putting that information into this gigantic database. Now, it's supposed to be attorney-client confidential privileged information, right? So did I just breach my duty of confidentiality to my client? It's entirely possible. We have to be really careful about that. And our industry is developing some tools with the guardrails that you're talking about. But the fact of it is, that's a very specialized, narrow field of practice. Likewise, I think medicine is doing similar, and probably with accounting and other professions as well. But for the rest of us and the rest of the world, when we're not using it in those contexts, I think we really need to be mindful and thoughtful about how we're using these tools. Just like we don't wave a handgun around pointing it at people because it could go off.
They go off.
Well, use an AI tool, it's the gun going off.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like the Pandora's box. I mean, you open that box, it can go so many different ways.
Absolutely.
You have no idea. The instability of it is kind of it kind of grabs people because it's so like in the moment.
Yeah.
You can ask it something 1 second, ask it again. It gives you different responses. It hallucinates. It does. You don't. It's like what? How stable is it? And how much can you trust what it's given you? And then how much of what it gave you that it said is original is actually somebody else's work.
Right. Yeah. It is we are living in interesting times, as the old curse goes. So,
yeah, so I mean, that's a whole different level. But then, before we got to that conversation, there's importance of like trademark. Like if you if you're a celebrity or you're an influencer, you have a podcast, you have a presence on YouTube, you're a YouTuber, you're a TikToker.
Yeah.
And you create that your IP. Like your IP might be you. It might be how you do things.
Yeah, your identity to the world is your brand, and your brand is something that, if it's distinctive and it sets you apart and stands out, then it is something that you can protect with trademark registration. A trademark is an interesting one because it is a territorial kind of protection. So you don't get worldwide rights just because you're using it in the US and doing that. You can register in the US, and if you're doing stuff that's on a worldwide scale, you can register in other countries. It gets expensive really fast to do all that, but it is a way of protecting. Look, if you're Coca-Cola or McDonald's, you're going to do that because it's
register everywhere.
It's within reach. And yeah, exactly. If you're the average typical YouTuber, maybe not. You worry about where your followers are likely to be and where people are likely to knock you off and pretend to be clones of you and things like that.
So that's interesting. So if you're an American influencer, but you have a big impact in the EU or the Pacific, it would sound like, if you, based on your metrics, if you've got like 30%, 20% in those other places, maybe you need to actually look into what you just said.
It's something we definitely want to take a look at, and also, not just if they already are achieving that kind of status, but also you worry about, well, are we going to get there? Is it something we want to protect before it becomes a problem? Because if I'm going to use Mr. Beast as an example, someone in Ukraine decides to call themselves the Ukrainian equivalent of Mr. Beast in that language, that's also a problem. And especially if he's doing similar kinds of work. So sometimes it is you need to take protective measures. This is prophylactic law.
So you're just kind of, it's like in the medical profession, you're doing that, that work ahead, you're actually taking care of yourself before you have the illness. You're actually doing the work.
I think it's probably dangerous for us to get into vaccines and masks and things like that. So you're on the right track.
But that's the idea. You're trying to protect yourself.
Absolutely.
But it's interesting. So some folks maybe don't realize like how much of a trademark is a personality. Like if you've got a certain, like how much of that character is like, a lot of people, they maybe have a stage self. So how much of that stage self can be trademarked?
Well, that's the best thing, is that the stage self is the distinctive identifier, and it's easier actually to protect that, a character that you've created as your persona on camera, on stage. That might be actually easier than protecting your true identity. And obviously I'm thinking of an example, Pee Wee Herman, right? There was the
Yeah, that's
character
very
dressed in the
specific.
gray suit and so on, very narrowly construed. Now, unfortunately, Mr. Rubens is no longer around to protect himself and so on. But that's one side. The other side, the other thing that we're seeing now with celebrities is them going out and registering their name, their face, their performances, the sound of their voice. I'm thinking of Taylor Swift. I'm thinking of Matthew McConaughey and a few other people are protecting themselves with trademarks, at least trying to, against the what do they call them? The AI clones.
Yeah, yeah, 'cause they can grab your voice, they can grab your image, and then they can
Right.
insert it. And if you hear on a lot of clips on the ether,
Hmm.
there's certain actors' voices that maybe they didn't protect, and they're
Yeah.
being reused like ad nauseum
Yeah.
on everything.
And there are legal frameworks from from the 20th century that talk about how we protect a person's name and image and likeness and the sound of their voice, but they only go so far. And in the US in particular, it's especially hard to restrict somebody from essentially invading your privacy or using your what we call the right of publicity, that name image likeness stuff, when the work that they're doing is non-commercial. So if they're just making a funny video and they're not trying to make money from it or using it as an ad, that probably isn't a violation of their traditional rights.
Traditional, even if they're a
Yeah.
TikToker and it gets 1,000,000 views and it's monetized.
Right. Or yeah, or where it's, it sounds like Liam Neeson who's doing the narration of some weird video or explaining, how to fix your toilet or something like that. It's not commercial, so it's not really actionable under
Oh, wow.
old-fashioned law, I guess you would say. So that's what something that the legislatures are working on now. I think Tennessee came up with something that's named the Elvis Act. There are a few other states that are doing things like that, but it's rough going because the freedom of speech side of it is a
Oh,
powerful
it's
argument.
powerful. It leaves a lot of room for
Yeah,
interpretation,
yeah.
and also, like, the freedom of the press. Like, if a press is being, like,
Mhm.
if you're reviewing somebody's work
Right.
and you say something and they're like, "Well, are they gonna say that's defamatory?" Or it's like, I just don't like this piece of
Yeah,
work."
yeah. Like I said, interesting times. We are grappling with all this stuff in real time as it's happening, and sometimes the tech is getting ahead of us, and sometimes we're catching up. So,
With, like, the difference between, like, fair use,
mhm.
infringement, copyright, we've kind of been talking about, but a lot of people, if you're a musician, you get the strike. What's been going on lately
Yeah,
is crazy, is I get strikes against my own work,
yep,
and then I have to fight and prove that it's, like, my own work, and I show them on BMI, and I show that I registered, and then I get rid of it, but it's kind of frustrating because the systems keep on telling me that I took something, but it's my own work that I
hmm
actually took.
yeah. That's been a problem with the YouTubes of the world for quite some time, actually. And sometimes you're right. The machine is wrong, and sometimes the artist is wrong. I've encountered situations where I've had someone call me and say, "Hey, they're telling me I can't use this thing because of whatever, it's violating something, and it's mine. I should be able to use it." And then we go and we look, and it turns out no, they made a deal with a publishing company a few years ago, and the publisher now owns those rights.
Or the publisher
And
owns your master or something,
and
so then you're
right,
depends on who public. If you're more publishing totally yourself,
hmm,
which
hmm,
I tend to do, so I tend to be
sure,
able to win.
yeah, the independent artists are on the right
I
side of
can
that
win.
one.
I
Yeah.
can win all the time. It's like you're
Mhm.
with somebody else that you don't win because your label wins.
Yeah, but it is a little bit like fighting City Hall, and once they've made a decision, it's very hard to get them to turn around on it. But you can. But not everybody has the stomach for or the budget for the fight.
'Cause there was a whole genre on Spotify of people that used to do music podcasts,
Uh huh.
and Spotify just got rid of it,
Yeah.
and then they had actually had episodes that were just pulled out. It had lost, like, I don't know, a couple, like,
Yeah,
maybe
there were
like
tens of
30,
thousands
50,
of those
yeah,
podcasts.
50
Yeah.
episodes
Yeah.
that did that, and I was even talking about my own music,
Hmm.
and they just
Yeah.
pulled it, and that
Well,
just goes beyond, like, even talking about somebody else's, but they just pulled the whole thing.
yeah, I've been around podcasting a long time, and they were pretty clever in their approach to the workaround by making it so you could make the podcast with segments that were just talk and segments that were music. And because Spotify has the right to play music under deals with various record labels, it was they would piece it together, talk, music, talk, and it was working. But I think it got to be a lot of work for little return on investment
Oh,
for
there was too much
Spotify.
work for them to manage. They
Yeah.
just couldn't manage it.
Well, I mean, come on, big company can manage it. It's just a question of, do they want to bother? Are they making
They
enough
didn't think
money
they were
from
making
doing
enough
it?
money for managing.
Yeah, exactly. It comes down to business decisions.
Yeah, it's just like it's so like if you're a fan of a certain genre, when these kind of decisions come in, just to totally
Yeah.
wipe it out, then you're like,
Mhm.
from an artistic perspective, like as the
Yeah.
creator,
Mhm.
oh, these guys are just wiping this out, and then people get more creative and say, well, how can I still
Yeah.
do it? And then they figure something else out.
Yeah. On the other hand, when in the representation of the creators, I have to say, well, just because you want to do it doesn't mean you should be able to, unless there's some way that that artist is going to be compensated for what they've created. So, you making a podcast that well, if you're reviewing music, you might have fair use on your side. You might have other uh, defensive arguments to make. But just generally, just because I feel like playing music doesn't
Yeah.
mean I
Yeah, I
can.
mean, I respect like the idea, like you don't want to play somebody's music if they're not going to get the royalty.
Exactly.
Because if you're doing like a review,
Hmm.
they get pulled because they just don't want to manage it. That's a whole different thing. But like it wasn't that you were trying to build off of their success and kind of like stealing a
Right.
sample and not crediting
Mhm.
the sample.
Yeah.
If you don't want to pay the royalty on the sample, then don't do it.
Yeah.
I understand that.
Yeah. And there's another component to that, and that is that these are private companies, YouTube and Spotify, and many of these, and so they don't have to. They have to follow the framework of the law, but that doesn't mean they have to listen to you when you say, "But I can get it isn't illegal because of this." They can say, "Well, we're not going to worry about fair use. We're not going to do
Yeah, they're
review
not even
shows."
so they might not even be following fair use. They just decide they don't want to do it.
It might be fair use, but they could just say, "Well, we don't care.
Yeah.
You're using other people's music, and that's not okay with us. That episode's
Mhm.
gone." And private companies can take those kinds of actions in many instances.
So, like, what's the hardest part of what you do when you explain things to people? Um, is it's like, oh, when people realize, like, oh, I can't do that.
um,
We've been kind of suggesting, like, hey, maybe you want to do it, but you really can't.
yeah, well, that is the hard part, is breaking that sort of bad news to people sometimes. Um, Lately, I'll tell you, since AI has come in, this is the hard part for me, has been the person comes in my door with the questions, with the concerns, with the arguments, and oftentimes they've been consulting with that attorney named
Oh,
ChatGPT,
they think they know.
and they're getting a lot of information, but not all the context and not all the nuance. And so I sit down and tell them, yeah, they don't really have to do that, or yes, you have rights, but whatever. And they'll say, but here's this law, or here's this thing. And then I'm sort of stuck with arguing with my own client or my own
Can they think they've
consultee.
become like a little like
Yeah.
their lawyer too because they
They've
chat
become
GPT
very,
turned them
very
into a
well
lawyer.
misinformed, I would say.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Or
Like,
underinformed.
yeah, that's the thing with when you have expertise, like you're in a profession, like engineers, software engineers, we're in a profession, but now we got people who say, well, I can just do vibe code,
Right.
right? And then they think they're as good as a 20-year programmer. Well, the 20-year programmer, he knows the unhappy path. He knows like the
Mhm.
80-20, the 90-10.
Yeah.
The vibe coder might be able to get away with the 60-40, the
Mhm.
80-20, but it's in those unhappy paths that they don't know enough
Yeah.
and
And
they
a lot
don't
of
know what to
time
do.
it comes down to not knowing which further questions to ask to really frame, or not framing it in the prompt in the right way in the first place. So again, nuance gets missed, or the AI misinterprets or hallucinates, or just gets it flat wrong. Yeah, sometimes that does happen. So
So
um,
in the area of trademarks, one thing I was always interested in just trying to understand this
sure.
is the idea of like common law trademark rights versus actually going and get one.
Yeah, yeah. Um, well, common law trademark is just what you said. It's a principle of um, there is a certain degree of protection. It's usually very, very narrowly circumscribed territorially. So if I wanted to create a brand for I don't know, a yogurt shop here in Los Angeles, California, I might not be able to stop a San Diego yogurt shop from adopting the same name
Mm-hmm.
because they're in a different part of the country. That's the advantage of the federal registration, is now we've got the whole US. So it gives them the freedom to expand and grow the business however it can grow. That same territorial issue, as we said earlier, does address international boundaries as well. The protection under common law trademark tends to fall to state law, or sometimes there's a component of the federal law that also talks about this unfair competition, the idea that, well, they're passing their stuff off as mine, or they're passing my stuff off as theirs. One of those is, I don't remember which one is which, but one's called direct passing off and the other's reverse passing off.
Mm-hmm.
Those things fall under a part of what's called the Lanham Act, which is the U.S. trademark law. It's under a provision called unfair competition, and the law says it doesn't matter whether it's registered. It just matters that they have created some kind of a false designation of origin or source that confuses the public.
Oh, wow.
But it's a harder case to prove because you don't have that registration standing as immediate proof that you own it.
Yeah, because if you had this thing where, well, I guess if you created like a unique brand or you create a logo and
Right.
you've been using it, you might get some kind of automatic common law rights under Lanham Act. But if you really want specific protection and you want it like nationwide, then you need to actually get it federally registered.
Yeah, I mean, the challenges in the non-registered scenario, the common law scenario, come down to: do you really own what you say you own? How long have you actually been using it? Have you achieved that level of recognition in the community and by the public that justifies even giving you any protection? And also, is there really a likelihood of confusion? Those are fundamentally similar to a registered trademark analysis, but we have more about the ownership and less about the confusion usually.
And the way in this world, now we have got people like impersonators.
Yeah.
Or people, not only impersonating, but kind of ruining your reputation by taking your image and then using it for like nefarious purposes or whatever. So in that situation where you have these kind of nefarious actors maybe doing harm, maybe they didn't want to do harm, or they actually are intentional harm. Is there like differences of like what you have to deal with?
Well, I mean, the reason for the complaint or the suit is just that there's some kind of confusion going on, right? That confusion could be, well, they're trading on the value of my brand, right? Or it could be that the fact that they're out there is confusing the public, and people are thinking that what they're making is coming from me, and frankly, what they're making is complete dreck. And so it's tarnishing my reputation and my products. It's hurting my business that way. So it's either they're unjustly benefiting or they're causing me harm. Either way, that's a trademark infringement lawsuit or an unfair competition claim. So I can't come out here and call my show Phantom Electric Ghost. Probably not without some problems.
Yeah, I've been lucky that way so far. But
now, you do have the Electric Ghost cartoon character you have to think about, but not to give anybody an idea. I think they've stopped making that show, so it's
well, I've been around since 2016, but I have my own logo that I built out.
Sure.
But plus my music is out there. It's like a dual purpose thing. But it's interesting that when you deal with what you do, what's the hardest part of doing your job? And maybe the other flip side, what's the easiest part of doing the job?
Well, nowadays, after being at what I'm doing for 34 years, the easy part is sort of knowing and understanding the law and how it works, at least relatively current on the law. It's always changing, so that's part of the hard part, is just keeping up with everything, especially at the pace things are changing right now. And then what's the hardest part? I'll say, honestly, the personalities of people, dealing with my own, sometimes my own clients, sometimes the opposing side or the opposing counsel, sometimes dealing with myself is a challenge. the day-to-day work is not, I mean, it's hard work, it's challenging work, it's intellectually stimulating and challenging. Um, Sometimes it's the, I don't want to call it drudgery, but oh, this again kind of
Or the
feeling,
sameness of it. Like,
and
it's
being
kinda
able
like the
to,
idea, like, if you like,
yeah,
you go to the box in your job, or you go to that cubicle, it becomes, like, the same old, same old. Are you phoning it in? Is it
yeah. If your
challenging
job
you?
is pulling that lever 10 times an hour, eventually you just get tired of pulling that lever, right?
Yeah, it's like muscle
That
memory, but
said,
you get bored with it.
yeah, and that said, fortunately for me and lawyers generally, is that every case is a little different. Every client situation has its own
Unique.
particulars. So it isn't that routine or rote, but um, sometimes you just have to get yourself into that mindset of being aggressive and on behalf of the client and being that zealous advocate. And it's like, oh,
Yeah,
I know
that's
how
good.
this is going to go, but I got to go through the motions. And avoiding that is sometimes a challenge.
Yeah, because you gotta step up because 'cause you're an advocate. You
Yeah,
know, you're actually doing that service, and they expect
yeah,
you to be like, it's like when you're out there,
mhm.
if you're on sports, you might
Yeah,
have a bad day, but the team is expecting you to do like 110, 120% all the
yeah.
time.
And
There's no
most of
way
the
you're
time,
doing
that's
that
the
all
fun
the
part.
time.
Yeah.
You're not always humanly capable of doing it.
Exactly. Exactly. And you know what? Knowing those boundaries, my limits is an important hard part also, because I want to do great work for my clients, but there are moments when I've just got too much on my plate, or I've got too much, I don't have enough energy left today to do it. And I
Mhm.
sort of have to table it or put it aside. And
Yeah,
sometimes
it's
the
kinda
time
knowing
frame,
it. It's
I'd
like
say the hardest thing is deadlines.
the artist dilemma. Like when you're in a studio,
Yeah.
do you do take 101, or you say, "You know what? I need to walk away,"
Right.
right? Because maybe I need to walk away, get the
Mhm.
50,000-foot view of it,
Yeah.
and actually look at it. Because if you get too close to something, what I find
Yeah.
being an artist, and even in software design, we're looking at code for 6 hours
Yeah.
straight, and then you walk
That's mind
away.
numbing. Yeah.
When you come back into it, it's like,
Mhm.
"Oh, now I see it."
Yep.
Right? Because sometimes it's like trying to flat thrash it out to being like, "I'm being a good soldier," but that baby is not really giving you that much.
And yeah, and I actually have a mentor who says that, sometimes the hardest work is the resting,
Yeah, know when to walk away, know
pulling
when to
away
take
from
a
it
break.
and giving yourself and your brain and your body the time to reacclimate and then come back. There are lots of stories of in the recording studios in particular of, they did 80 takes and it got to be midnight and everybody decided we'll just go home, we'll come back in the morning. And then take one in the morning is the one that's a keeper.
Or take 4 was the best, and you
Or
just
sometimes,
took
yeah,
you take 84 to find out take
to
4 was
realize. Yeah,
the best.
absolutely.
That happens a lot.
Yep.
Um, so one of the things I always wondered, like when you're working with somebody, like we talked about, somebody takes the same title of a
Yeah.
podcast or the same title of a service or product,
Mhm.
and then are there ways like now that there are, like, systems that are scanning for that, like the copyright, like on music, there's like these digital rights management systems, their algorithms are just scanning for this stuff.
Yeah.
Are you taking advantage of that type of tech?
There are services out there. There's trademark search services, trademark monitoring services, and we lawyers, I have an account with one of those companies, and if the client wants to do that, and not all the clients want to, then we subscribe them, and we get a weekly report that shows us what's come close, what's out there. You know, it's one of those things where that's where the tedium comes in. I'm looking through a list of 500 new registrations that have that word in it, and I have to make that judgment on all of them. Is
Mm,
that a problem for our trademark? And and did the trademark office examiners, whose job it is to catch that,
catch it,
did they
yeah.
did they miss it or did they catch it? Usually by the time it makes it to the list I'm seeing, it's because they missed it. And fortunately, I think they're pretty good at their jobs, and it doesn't come up too often. Every once in a while, I have to make a call to someone's lawyer and say, "Hey, listen, there's, I don't, we don't have to make a big thing of it, a federal case of it, if we don't want to." I actually got one of those on my plate right now, where my clients, different spelling of basically the same pronunciation of the words, and my clients were there first, and the other guys registered their trademark first, and so now we've got a figure it out.
Yeah, that's interesting because you're wondering, like, because we're in this kind of goes flipping back to information age, AI age, you're wondering, like, if people are trusting all this AI to do that versus a human.
Right.
Is the AI going and saying there are issues where there aren't and causing more problems by what I've kind of seen in some
Yeah.
of the digital rights management? It seems like maybe there's some algorithmic stuff that's doing stuff that's
Yeah.
actually like not very good and flagging stuff that's actually really off.
Yeah.
And you're
Yeah.
like, okay, well, maybe there need to be people, but all these tech bros don't think you need people anymore.
Right, until they get too many false positives or false negatives, and then they have to deal with it and clean up after the mess, and that's when they realize, oh well, we didn't finish the job yet. And I'm confident there will become the day that the machines really can do most of the heavy lifting. I think we're already at that point where
Close.
most of the heavy lifting. It's the nuance, the detail work that still is going to take people for probably another 10 or 15 years before uh, fewer people are needed. And
Yeah.
the problem is companies don't realize that we're not there yet.
Yeah, it's
They're,
like a
they're
proof
wishful
of
thinking.
concept that we're being told is 100% there.
Yeah.
And I understand because they're trying to sell a product.
Yeah.
Like,
I just heard something, I think it was yesterday, that where some government agency had fired, probably the Doge cuts led to firing a whole bunch of people. And just last week, they ended up having to hire about 2/3 of them back because they realized that the AIs and the two other tools were just not doing the job effectively. And
yeah,
so,
there's a lot of nuance. It's kind of like, again, it's that happy path on happy path.
yeah,
It's 80, 20, 90, 10.
sure.
And a lot of people don't realize how much of that is their business. I happen to work in financial services.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in financial services, like insurance companies and banks, they
Yeah.
have a lot of exception processing.
Yeah.
It's not logical.
Yeah.
Like a lot of it is just all over the place. And if you try to put these logical systems in,
Mhm.
they make massive errors. And a lot of times they've had to pull them out
Yeah.
because it just doesn't work right.
I think it's always been the case that the lowest paid people can be made redundant more easily than the real issue. There've always been those problems where that $15 an hour bank teller is the one who made the mistake, but now it takes a $100 an hour employee at management level to fix it.
Yeah.
Now we've just gotten rid of that $15 an hour person in favor of other tools and technologies. But we're still going to need those mid and high level folks that have to fix it or clean it up or identify that there was even a problem. And, I guess that what that argues for is if you want to have a job, you better elevate your skill set.
Yeah. I mean, everybody's got to level up and get
Right.
certified. I mean, I'm in tech since the
Yeah.
90s. And everybody today in tech has to be AI certified,
I was
artificial
going to say, or
intelligence.
better yet,
certified.
learn how to diagnose and fix the problems when they happen.
When we look at it as a tool, like I look at it as I'm a business system analyst. I design things. I don't actually execute code. But now because with AI, I can actually have AI blue sky an idea
Yeah.
that I don't have to send to Mumbai, or I don't have to send
Mhm.
to Poland or Berlin or somewhere else, or to Nigeria. Like we used to have these teams of programmers, and
Mhm.
now I can actually blue sky a proof of concept with one of these tools.
Yeah.
And build a whole thing with just me and the bot, me and the AI. So that
Would-
levels you up where they
very exciting. Absolutely.
yeah,
Something
ideas.
Yeah. Something we didn't talk about is the flip side of the AI and the intellectual property equation, if you don't mind, or if you want to. And that is what happens when the AI makes the thing.
Oh, when they make the product, do they
When
own
they
it?
make the product or the picture or the music or the text or whatever it is that the AI is being, if I type in, make me a 3-second video that shows Darth Vader and Spider-Man involved in a lightsaber battle, I've just created 1,000 problems, by the way.
Yeah.
But who owns that video? Maybe it's just a video of a dog driving a car and giving a cop the finger or something like that, which would be kind of funny. But can anybody claim ownership of that? And the answer is probably no. The Copyright Office and the courts have pretty consistently said it has to be human author. So that's part of why Spotify now you can find channels that are just nothing but AI generated music, right? because it's cheap. They don't have to pay anybody.
Nobody's getting paid. Yeah, it's just like free. It gives them a whole platform, a whole area of music, musicians they don't have to pay.
Right.
I mean, everybody loves people you don't have to pay. but but like
People
whether
wanting to
because
eat
too
and have
much slop,
clothing and
I
shelter
think
is
there's
a
a little
challenge.
resistance because people start to get the junk food feeling
Yeah.
or the slop feeling.
Yeah.
And what you see on the other side of it is a lot of people who said you don't need to know how to play a music instrument.
Right.
There's tons of bands coming up that are actually full bands. There's a lot of musicians coming up in the underground, which I
Mhm.
have to interview, that are going back and learning how to play
Oh,
and actually building up bands from multiple genres. Where you got this new, people who are in their 20s
yeah.
are
Anticipating
very
a sort of backlash or a swing back
backlash to
away
the
from
AI. It's a backlash to all the
That's
automation.
great. That's good to hear.
Well, I think but what do you think like in the field of professionals where these tech bros are trying to say, well, I can replace a lawyer, I can replace an engineer, I can replace a doctor. I mean, that becomes like now the white collar people are been saying, hey, but what happens when does the enterprise
Yeah.
own a software where they used AI to build a service,
Mhm.
but the engineers didn't do it. The AI did it. And what if it's not the company's AI? What if it's like an outside company? Do
Yeah.
they actually own the thing they designed if the other third party artificial intelligence company is but 90% behind the design?
Not according to the findings of the Copyright Office and the Trademark and Patent Office and the courts. The challenge is, but neither does the other third party AI company own it. So
Oh, they don't
basically,
own
it's
it
just
either.
become public information that anybody can use if they can access it, which is back to where that secrecy part comes into play.
So then
Yeah.
how do you justify the investment if you actually can't make money from it?
Yeah, that well, hopefully they'll start coming to their senses about that. And
You're just paying for the compute. It's like, and then maybe all you're paying for is the compute, which is this maybe you're paying for the service.
right.
And maybe that becomes the way that they can level that up and they make it worthwhile. But if you don't actually own the thing, you're
Mhm.
just paying for the time it took to make the thing.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know if that's actually going to give you a high return.
How do you recover your R&D cost essentially?
Yeah, I think
If
that we might have a problem with
yeah,
that.
you know, on that white collar question, one thing that gives me a little bit of solace is that for those who go through the training to get to be at that white collar level of expertise and practice, you know, I'm reminded of the story about I think it was a shipbuilder who had a problem where there was a noise or a vibration that the ship was making and it was causing a problem. And they brought in one consultant after another at thousands and thousands of dollars. And then one guy comes in and he says, "Have you got a wrench?" And someone hands him the wrench and he hears the problem. He sees what's going on. 5 minutes later, he comes over, he taps the wrench against something, problem gone. Submits a bill for $50,000. And the CEO of the company says, "What? You were here for 5 minutes. It was, we're paying you $50,000. What's that all about?" He says, "It's not the 5 minutes I spent. It's the 35 years learning and
Yeah,
knowing where to tap it." So the white collar folks are going to be in that position, hopefully put themselves in that position. And so, okay, so the AI couldn't fix it. The AI couldn't diagnose your problem. The AI couldn't keep you out of jail. Okay, give me 50 grand.
yeah. It's that expertise. It's like a consultant.
Yeah.
That like you come along, you've been working 30 years, you got 30 years of that experience of knowing, and you become like Mr. Fix It or Mrs. Fix It.
Hmm.
You go from enterprise to enterprise,
Now,
solving
the
the problem. And the reason they hire you
yeah.
is because you know how to solve the problem.
Yeah, the flip side of it is there will be jobs for probably 1/10 of as many of us as there
Yeah, so
have been
we're
historically.
then we'll have to figure out how to take all of our time and the idea is like, oh, we can take our critical thinking hat
Yeah.
and blue sky everything instead of doing like
Mhm.
the things that were kind of driving you crazy,
Yeah.
like the 9 to 5 stuff that's repetitive that you've done before.
Yeah.
If you can actually take all that effort, theoretically, the idea that these utopian
Yeah.
people put up is
Mhm.
they will suddenly be able to take all that extra time and come up with all these amazing things that are our own ideas and implement them.
Yeah, and we have to be judicious in how much we train the machines and how much we sort of hold back for ourselves,
We have to hold back a lot.
Right.
Hold back all the secret sauce because you got 30 years, 40 years of stuff. It's like, how much are you going to train the bot?
Right.
How much are you actually going to really tell them in order for you to still have a position?
Yeah. Headline in today's Hollywood Reporter, actually, I think it was today's, was talking about, um, Hollywood has gone in a very bad direction for a lot of workers, and so a lot of these workers are now taking employment training the machines.
Yeah, I saw
To
like Disney got rid of a lot of illustrators and designers.
Yeah.
And to me, and my daughter is a graphic artist, and it's very disheartening to see like in a creative industry, your artist
Yeah.
or your bank. That's your thing. And then to think that you're just gonna have the machines don't do art. Like
Yes.
machines do collage art. They do interpretive of what has been done before and then kind of slap it together.
The average of all the mediocrity out there,
Yeah. Yeah. It's
or the lowest common denominator,
all
maybe. Yeah.
predictive algorithms when it comes to art, and art's supposed to come from emotion. It's supposed to come from
Right.
the heart. It's supposed to come from the soul.
And human made art can actually have a soul. Some would
Yeah.
argue.
Yeah.
Machine made art isn't going. The machine doesn't have a soul, so the art's not going to have a soul either.
You can kind of feel it. Like when
Mhm.
if you go look at like a Japanese, like Spirited Away,
Yeah.
and you look at all that hand drawn work, right? And then you
Mhm.
look at something that's like AI slop.
Mhm.
There's no way that you can say that that's equal.
Yeah.
Like it's just not. You look at
Yeah.
old Disney stuff, like
Yeah.
really old stuff, like even Steamboat Willie.
Yeah.
Look at that art on Steamboat Willie, and then look at the AI slop that's out there today, and tell me, like, really, that's what we got to look forward to?
Yeah. The AI can, the machines, the technology can certainly replace a lot of the perspiration, but it's not going to do anything for inspiration.
Yeah, because we want to see is the human experience is what gives you the art. It's the pain and the happiness and all the emotions that human beings go through
Yeah.
is what gives
Absolutely.
you the art. Man, you're in this realm of protecting the people who are creating the content, and
Mhm.
the people who create the content are not bots.
Right. For all the good and the bad that represents, but yes.
Yeah.
um
So what do you see next? The next frontier for what you're trying to do. I think we've been talking about it, but as a podcast lawyer,
yeah.
uh, in the podcast space, what do you think are the next like big, next 5 years are the biggest issues that podcasters are going to find legally?
Well, in the podcast space specifically, and this is less of a challenge for YouTube and other areas, but the question of discoverability has been an ongoing challenge because podcasting is by its nature distributed. There's no one central hub that knows what everybody's watching and listening to and can predict what else they'll be wanting to listen to. So I think that the next round of iterations in the podcasting space are going to try to address that to some extent. That's one challenge. Monetization is another side of things that is a bit of a challenge in the creator economy overall, but in particular in podcasting because it's been mainly an the idea has been mainly advertising, right? Sell
Mhm.
ads, make money. It's very hard to make a lot of money with a podcast unless you've got millions and millions of
Yeah,
listeners. And
they're the big Rogan ones. I mean, if you get the big guys, then
so
they make the big cash. But if you're under other tier, like you might make it from other things. Like if you find ways to like get involved, like if I do a podcast and I interview a lot of creative people, and I get them to like join together and work on
Mhm.
projects, and then
Yeah.
they create new work,
Mm.
that becomes like that in alone. It's like a Rolodex.
Yep.
It's people finding each other, and then they're finding opportunities to go create work they didn't even know they were going to do. And that in itself, it can't be measured maybe by a metric, but
Right.
it's valuable.
Yeah. Yeah. How to measure the ROI on
Yeah.
podcasting has become another thing I've been hearing folks talking about a lot lately. Personally, for me, I am looking at finding and helping creators find other better ways to monetize what they're doing
Mhm.
through essentially capturing that spirit that we're talking about, that heart, that
Mhm.
soul, and using that to make solutions to real world problems that real people have that AI can't solve, or that people don't want to use AI to solve and are willing to pay. And so education and inspiration are some of those things that, yes, you can get an education from an AI. You still have to wonder, is it accurate or not? At some point, it may not matter if it's accurate or not, because the lie becomes the truth over time. But um, I think that providing information, education, guidance, and just helping people get the mental part of the work done can be a way to monetize what we're doing. And the podcast then and the content really just becomes the opening, the avenue, the portal through which people come and find us and learn about us. And so I think that content-based marketing is definitely here to stay, and probably going to be stronger than ever. So
yeah, because podcasting seems to be like Madison Avenue is like always frames a lot of their stuff from a podcast point of view, with kind of fake podcast ads. But the other thing is, like, a podcaster, what I found in the last 5 years is, like, there's a lot of people that use this as a way as advertising. Like businesses using podcasts to actually drive customers are actually going to actually click through. Customers are actually going to buy something. Influencers that actually sell like a TED talk, or they go on the circuit, or then they sell a book, or they sell the seminar, and they actually get a big ROI because they're able to use the podcast to actually find their tribe, find the person that's actually going to buy it, that's going to use it, that's going to do it. And they it seems to be pretty good in that regard.
And that brings us sort of full circle to this idea of, you have to think about what we're doing as business and not merely creativity, not merely just putting stuff out there for the sake of putting it out there. And I think most creators, in the back of their mind, they have, well, how can I make money from this? But really starting to come at it from questioning, well, how do I measure what is the ROI here? How do I measure what are the indicators that I'm on the right track or on the wrong track, the key performance indicators? And starting to think about what those business terms mean in the context of creativity. I think that is the next frontier for creative folks.
Yeah, maybe a consolidation of all the different platforms, because if you're so scattered, then it's hard to get like focus. So I would think eventually there's going to be a collapsing or a combination of different platforms, and people might go to maybe smaller amount of platforms. Or I don't know, maybe go the other way. More platforms. It depends on what the market is.
Yeah. I mean, I think business lessons for creators is actually a not fully tapped market. I won't say untapped, but it's definitely some room to work in there. And
yeah,
I think that's always
it's always a cool thing to get into, because you need to not to spend 24 hours a day just creating art. You have to distribute the art. So some of that time has to be spent.
Right. It's not just distribute. It's actually monetize. How do you make it into something people want to pay for?
Yeah, it's a whole lesson, because like a lot of the artistic mindset is, well, I'm doing it because I love it. But not everybody's going to love what you just did.
Right. And historically, patrons of the arts have recognized that, and they've funded the artwork because they appreciate the art, and oftentimes they like the people. They choose their favorite artist and they want to make them succeed, so they continue making art. But that's a less commercial kind of an approach, and unfortunately we live in a commercial world these days. So
it's very commercial. It's hard to get somebody to be your backer. Everybody's gonna get like the art gallery level backer for like the painters. Even the painters don't find that all the time. It's very hard to get that. But I want to thank you for being here. And I want to point out, we do have your QR code up. If people don't know what that's about, people can scan the QR code. It's the same thing as going to GordonFiremark.com.
Oh, great.
You can scan that. But if people go to your website, what do they find there?
GordonFiremark.com is a sort of a clearinghouse for the products and services that I offer to the creative community. Yes, I have a law practice, and I do done for you legal work for folks, of course, but I also offer some courses and some templates and forms and documents, things that creators can use to do it themselves when they either choose not to or can't afford to pay someone to do things for them. So, and my podcasts and other creative material are on there as well. So I hope you'll come on and shop around a little bit.
Well, yeah, we always encourage people, like, please use the QR code that we're
Yeah.
presenting. Please click on your website and check out your Instagram. And just to let people know, if you don't like QR codes, that the URLs below are actually clickable on the platforms. We've been on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Kick. We'll be on
Awesome.
other platforms. You'll be able to immediately click those URLs in the description of the podcast on all those platforms. And we do encourage you to do that and actually find out more about what we've been talking about today by actually, engaging on those URLs or the QR code. But I want to thank you for being here today.
Thanks for having me, Phantom. It's been a great conversation, really interesting, thought-provoking, and inspiring. I appreciate it.
I hope you have a great rest of your day or night time, because I don't know where you were, but thank you for being on the show today, and I appreciate it.
Great to be here. Thank you.